Hi everyone, now welcome back to the channel. On this episode, we'll be back on the road to the VIX annual show, and also we have a special guest, Maurie Hunt. Okay guys, let's get started. Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning into the channel. So, just a quick little update with the channel. So, for season 2, there'll be a total of 15 episodes, and throughout the breeding season, I'll be doing giving you guys some regular updates. Now, we've got 5 more episodes to go, so we have some big things happening. We got more home visits. We also got a trip interstate as well. So just before we get on to Mory Hunt's bird room, I'd just like to say that Maurie Hunt, he's been breeding Gloucesters for close to 40 years, and he has some really good quality birds. All right, guys, sit back, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. Okay, guys, over here we have Maurie Hunt. So, Maurie, just tell us how you started with your Gloucesters.
I started with Borders first.
Yep.
Then I had Yorkshires.
Yep.
Then I had Reds.
Yep.
And then I met a fella called Eric Jackson.
Yep. And
I joined the Dandenong Canary Society when I was living in Dublin. And Eric Jackson was one of the top Gloucester breeders at that stage.
Yep.
And I got a couple of birds off him. And then I met David Daff, and I got some off him, and then I bred them up. And then David Daff unfortunately went through a marriage breakdown, and I had his birds in my aviaries in Noble Park, and we were showing his birds and my birds separately.
Yes.
And then he said one day, I'm going to get rid of all the birds. And I said, why? He said, well, I got nowhere to put them. And I said, why get rid of them? I said, we'll go in partnership. And he said, yeah, all right. I said, you pair them up, I'll breed them, and you take them to shows.
Yep.
And he said, okay. And that's how it started. And that's been going probably 30, 35 years.
That's awesome, mate. That's awesome. Okay, Maurie, just tell us about how you do your preparation for your breeding season.
My preparation takes about 10 weeks. I start in June, and by the end of July or early August, I think the birds are ready. The first week, I have them in the flights, or the first 3 or 4 weeks. I get sprouted seed 1 day a week. The next week they'll get it 2, then they'll get it 3. And then on the 4th week, which is getting on towards July, I start using a small amount of soft food.
Yep.
And they get it regularly every second day with a bit of sprouted seed. And then gradually they'll be getting it 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
The birds are still in the flight. About the middle of July, I take the hen birds out and I check them.
Yep.
And I work on a hen bird. If you blow her early, her vent will look like a bad grape with just a stalk. As she progresses to come in condition, the vent will get like a nice grape and the stalk will disappear. And then I know probably they're getting ready to go. I then place the hen birds in their boxes. The cocks are still in the flight. When I put the hens in the boxes, I trim their toenails, cut their tails, and trim their beaks, and trim their vent.
Yep.
The cocks are still in the flight whistling, and then I keep looking at the hens regularly. Prior to that, I forgot, I pair them up on paper
Yep.
in about the middle of June before they start getting into sexy business.
Yes.
And then, because you lose a bit of shape then.
Yep.
So I pair them up on paper. And then when the hen's ready, I know which cockbirds to go in with her.
Yep.
I put them in together, and then it's getting towards the start of August.
Mm-hmm.
I then give them a nest just to tease them. And if they start getting serious, I give them the nesting material. I use Hessian and plumber's hemp to finish it off.
Okay.
At that stage, they're on soft food every day, only small amounts, and sprouted seed.
Yep.
The hard seed mixture is 3 parts plain, 1 part canola, and then they get a bit of tonic seed. And that's regularly what I do, and then eventually all the birds are in there. And then early August, I should start having eggs.
Yep. So what's the best way that you do pair up your birds? Do you do like father to daughter? Do you line breed, or what's your?
I try all sorts of things.
Okay. Yep.
I've tried. I do breed mother to son and father to daughter if they're good.
Yep.
Because when I start to cull the birds, as I said earlier, I put the parents in a cage and all the young.
Yep.
And if I think the young are good, I may pick a young hen or a young cock to go to the opposite parent. Other than that, I just pick birds that I think are right.
Yep.
So we have all different sorts of strains in the bird, in our shed.
Yeah, it's a bit of experimenting and stuff like that. Trying something different.
I don't believe in breeding consort to consort.
Yep.
Because if you breed consort to consort, you don't get a long feather on the back of the head.
Okay.
And to breed good coronas, you need long feather on the consort.
Yep.
The best way to breed good coronas, and everybody cans me for this, is corona to corona.
Okay.
But you've got to have the best. It's no good putting a good corona to
an average.
Not a good corona, inferior one.
Yeah.
So you've got to put the 2 good ones together.
Yep.
You may lose one.
Yep.
You may lose 2 chicks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no different to breeding a consort to a corona. You still might lose 1 or 2 chicks.
Yeah, yeah.
But all the older people that used to breed birds, a lot of them have passed away, they reckon that was a no-no.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have been doing that for about 10 years.
So you must be doing something right then.
I think we are.
Yep, that's good.
And how we got the coronas so good, probably, I don't know, could have been 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We put crest into them.
Yeah.
Norwich crest.
Yeah, crest bred.
And it took us 3 years to get them out, to get to the Gloucester shape.
Yep.
But during that time, we got really good crests.
Yep.
So that's what we do. But now we haven't got that. We just breed corona to corona.
Yep.
Or the best corona, either back to its parent or to the best consort.
Okay. Do you ever do like a trio breeding, or do you just pair up cock and hen? You just like to have like the same amount of cocks that you got for hens during the breeding season, or do you like to put, say, 1 cock over 2 hens or 3 hens? Or
I do, but I prefer to have 1-to-1.
1-to-1, yep.
Because it's less mucking around. If you've got about 15, 16 pair of birds, you've got to be on them all the time.
Yep.
So it's better to have 1-to-1.
Less work.
Yep.
Yep.
But I do, if I have a couple of hens that I haven't got a mate that I think's good enough, and I have a good cock bird, I will put a trio. Sometimes I use 3 hens to 1 cock.
Yep, yep. Oh, that's great, mate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Maury, for a person starting out and they want to get into canaries and start breeding birds, what sort of advice can you give a beginner?
Go to annual shows and work out the birds you like best, the best type.
Yep.
Whether you like red birds, Fifes,
Mhm.
Gloucesters, and work who's got the best birds at that stage.
Yep.
See if you can buy 1 or 2 pair. Don't get too big at the start because you're going to lose it. You're going to have disappointments, and then you get out of it.
Yep.
So it's best to start with only a few number of pairs, say 2, 3, 4,
Mhm.
and build them up.
Yep.
And then the following year, go back to that person again. Pick out your best birds, take them with you, and see if he can pair up to them.
Yep.
And then you get going. I have novice people coming here, bringing their best birds, or they think they're their best birds.
Yep.
And if I like them, I pair up birds to suit. And then they go on. And this year, one of them has had success at the shows.
Yep.
You know, you're here to help.
Well, that's awesome, mate. Look, even for myself, when I started out, you know, coming to see you, Maury, you really helped me a lot with my birds. The quality of my birds, they jumped quite a fair bit. When I first started, my birds, they were quite average. But, you know, when I sort of put your birds with mine, you know, I started winning some shows. And, you know, and being at some of the events, at some of the shows, you know, I've seen some other novice with some lovely Gloucesters, and I asked them, I go, where do you get your birds from? It's got a beautiful corona, or it's a nice consort. And they all say Maurie Hunt. So, you know, and look, let's be honest, you know, in the canary world, you know, you meet all sorts of people. You meet people that would help somebody out, and you'll meet people that don't share birds. And what you're doing for the hobby is really, really great, because if it weren't for people like yourself and a few others, who knows what the future will be with the canaries and showing birds. If you can't get birds off anyone, how are you supposed to be doing the hobby? So, you know, it's people like yourself that, you know, people like myself starting out and all that. We really appreciate what you do for the Gloucester, shows and breeders and all sorts.
One thing I forgot to mention with new people,
Yep.
you've got to get into a routine of feeding the correct stuff.
Yep.
Like soft food, sprouted seed.
Yep.
Don't buy mixed seeds. Try and mix your own seed.
Yep.
I don't buy any bags of mixed seed.
Yep.
I'll buy plain canary in bags, and I'll buy canola in a bag.
Yep. And
I use 3 parts plain canary to 1 part canola.
Yep.
I mix my own sprouted seed, and I have canola, grey sunflower, safflower, and mung beans.
Okay.
And I don't mix my own soft food because I can't buy it in large enough quantities.
Yep.
Yeah, you go to the shopping centre and they sell wheat germ in kilo or 500 grams, where I like to make up about 20, 30 kilos so I don't run out.
Yep.
So I buy my soft food from Mineral Energy.
Yep.
In 10 kilo bags.
Okay, so what is the reason why you wouldn't go buy a canary mix from a pet store? Like,
Well, if you buy mixed canary, it's got seeds that the birds don't like, and they waste it, because they put seeds in such as filler seeds to build it up to make a bigger profit. So if you buy your own seed, and you buy plain canary and canola, or if you want to put other seeds in there, that's up to you. But I've been doing that for years, plain canary and canola. And I buy a tonic seed from, can't get the bloody name now, Thomastown.
From Thomastown?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That's the only seed I don't mix.
You don't mix?
Because it's too bloody hard, too hard.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, look, you know, being like going to the shows and meeting breeders and all sorts, everyone's got their own sort of method.
Of course they have.
To what they mix for their birds, and it's really interesting to meet people and to see what they do. So you know, you get some breeders that are very similar to what they give their birds, and you get some breeders that give other stuff that, you know, that are different to others.
Yeah.
So
Everybody can't be the same.
Yep.
Like I use a few things that people don't use.
So Maury, with your birds now, what sort of method do you use to prevent from mite getting into your birds?
I wash all the cages out before I start breeding.
Yep.
And then I spray them with Peebo, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I have little dishes, they're not here now.
Yep.
With camphor blocks and eucalyptus in them.
Okay, yep.
And I have about 10 of them around the bird room.
Yep.
I don't use any sprays. Occasionally, if I find birds with mite, I use a spray.
Yep.
But normally I don't. I find that the camphor blocks and what I call it before works.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And I don't put anything under the sawdust.
Yep.
When they're breeding, I change the sawdust. I take a handful of rubbish out every day and redo it.
So you use the sawdust, you don't use obviously the newspaper and stuff like that?
I use sawdust.
Sawdust?
I find the paper damages their tails too much.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So I just use sawdust.
So sort of in what way does the birds get damaged with the newspaper?
Well, the print goes on their tail, especially if it's a light variegated bird
or a white bird.
A light tail.
Yep.
He's like to get print on his tail.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And I find the paper doesn't absorb the droppings as well. The dropping can still stay a bit wet on the paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Where in the sawdust,
it absorbs it.
Yeah.
So, Maury, for the people that are starting out that want to get into Gloucesters, what is something that they need to look for? Say, for example, with the Corona. So what do they need to look for in a Corona?
Body-wise, not too big.
Yep.
A neat, chubby little bird.
Yep.
The Corona's got to be round and it's got to come down like a mop.
Yep.
And it has to have a good centre.
Yep.
A good pin in the centre and go around.
Yep.
And come down. Come down close to his eyes and cover his beak a little bit.
Yep.
You'll find a lot of Coronas don't come down enough.
Yep.
They're not like a mop.
They sort of stop halfway, sort of thing.
Yeah, they're not like a mop.
So what's the reason for that? Would you say it could be that short feathered or what? Yeah.
Well, to breed good Coronas, you've got to have a consort with long back feather on its back of its head.
Okay.
If it hasn't got long feather on the back of its head, you're going to get short Coronas.
Yeah.
So you've got to have long feather to produce the Corona to the Corona.
Okay.
To make it come down like a mop. Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got to be careful when you wean your birds.
Yep.
That you don't keep Coronas and consorts together.
Yep.
Because the consorts will pluck the Corona.
I found that out myself.
And, and if you're going to breed them, show them early.
Yep.
You should put one or two, providing you've got the room, one or two Coronas together.
Yep.
You can put half a dozen consorts together because they won't pluck each other.
Yep.
But they seem to want to pluck the Corona.
The Corona. Yeah, yeah. Okay, now for a consort, what are the things you need to look at for a good consort?
Well, it's got to be the same sort of body as a Corona.
Yep.
But it's got to have good rise of its head.
Yep.
It's got to have a nice round head.
Okay. Yep.
Not too bulky. And you'll find a lot of birds, they don't have enough back skull on the consort. It's got to be round.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's got to have a good body.
So would you put, say, sometimes with the Gloucesters, you might get, you might get the birds that are slightly larger or slightly smaller. Would you recommend to put the two smaller birds together, or would you recommend to put the bird that's slightly larger with a slightly smaller bird? Would you say that by putting the two smaller birds that they can lose a bit of shape?
Possibly.
Yep.
I like to try to put birds together that are roughly the same
size,
body-wise and length.
Yep.
It can't always work.
Yep.
Because you might have birds left over that you want to keep, so you've got to pair them up.
Yep.
But I try to get them similar.
Okay. Okay, no worries. And when you cull your birds, What's the process of culling your birds? Like say your breeding season's finished. How many months later do you take to start culling your birds and sorting them out?
June.
In June?
I don't believe in doing any birds early. What I do when I've got them all out, I roughly go. Oh, excuse me. I roughly go through the birds that I think are good.
Yep.
And I put them down in 3 banks. The ones down the bottom are the ones I think are no good.
Yep. Okay.
But you'll be surprised when they molt that those birds down the bottom, some of them will end up in the top.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, because if you get rid of birds too early, you may get rid of some really good birds because they're not finished the molt. They haven't bloomed.
Yep.
The coronas are a lot slower than the consorts, so you've got to be careful. So I go through them and I'll have 15 cages.
Yep.
And I have what I think are good up the first 2 cages. The ones that I sort of think aren't good at that stage are down the bottom.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised how many birds at the bottom come up to the top.
To the top.
When they finish molting.
Well, there you go. So, so pretty much you wait after the show season for that to be over, and stuff like that. Look, they do change a lot. Sometimes the bird doesn't look like much in the beginning, but then it can really start to blossom as the months go on.
Yeah, of course.
But then sometimes you can get a bird that looks impressive at the beginning, but doesn't look as good.
That's right.
At the end of the molt. So
that's right.
I had to learn the hard way when I first started. But yeah. Yeah, so Maury, so besides you keeping your birds in the breeding cabinets, do you like have flights and things like that you put your birds in?
Yeah, I have flights.
Yep.
And when I've culled the birds, I take them out of the boxes and put them, hens and cocks, in the flights.
Yep.
And then I have a chance to wash all the cages and spray them and get them clean. And then I wash all the perches, wash the cage front, then put them back together, put clean sawdust on the floor, and the birds that I'm going to breed with are in the flight. The ones that I'm going to sell are moved to a different part of the room.
Yep, awesome. So do you put like hens in one flight and cocks in another, or do you keep them? Keep them separate.
Yeah, I keep them separate.
Yep.
Occasionally, I put a cock bird or a hen bird in with.
Yeah.
Because at about June, they're still a bit hard to sex.
Yep.
Because I go on the theory of the grape theory with the hens. And then I can tell that when they're ready. The cockbirds, you can see when he's getting ready, he starts to point up towards his beak.
Yep.
And then you know. But till then, some of them still look like hens and cocks, but they're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
So it is fine to like put the coronas and the consorts together in the flights.
Yes.
They don't they can't really pick each other that much, or it's more just in the breeding cabinets.
No, occasionally they'll pick each other in there, but you know how good they are.
Yeah.
Because you've gone through sorting them out, and you know if they lose a bit of their crest, you know how good he is.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter, but till you get them to the show, you don't know.
Yep.
Huh?
Awesome, mate. That's great. Now, Maury, I just want to say, thank you for your time. Like Mory Hunt, my opinion, I would say he's one of the top Gloucester breeders in Victoria. He's got some lovely quality birds, and in a moment, we'll take a look at some of his birds.
But you've got to remember, I have a partner in this business, David Daff.
Yep, David Daff, yep.
He helps a lot.
Okay, so Maury, you take care of the breeding?
Yes.
And David takes care of the showing. Is that correct?
And pairing up.
Yep.
We pair up together.
That's awesome, mate.
Because it's not just one person picking out what they
You're
think.
a team. You're a team.
So I might put a pair together, and David says, no, I don't like that cockbird.
Yep.
And then we'll change them. Or he might put a pair together, and I said, I don't like that hen with him. And then we change them around. So it works as a team.
That's great. Whatever you guys are doing, you guys are doing a great job. Just looking at your birds, just some beautiful quality birds, mate. All right, and thank you for your time, Maury. I really
Thank you very much.
appreciate everything, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Now that's all we have time for on this episode. Now, I would like to congratulate all the winners from the Vic's annual show. It was great to see a large turnout of Gloucesters on the show bench and some good quality birds as well. Now, on the next episode, we'll be back on the road to the biggest event of the year for the Gloucester Club of Victoria. It's our annual show. So that will be on the next episode. Now, if you guys haven't joined the Gloucester Club of Victoria, the membership form is on the Facebook page at Gloucester Canary Australia. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I really appreciate it. Share, like, subscribe. All right, guys. Till next time, have a good one.